This is a Hot Pie Original.
Welcome to Paranormally, a place where we investigate and discover paranormal activity that happens normally, quietly filed in between the pages of our daily lives. Join us as we learn through experiences in history of paranormal investigators, clairvoyants, and mediums who try to solve my paranormal mysteries and maybe some of yours as well. Have you had that feeling you are being watched but no one's there? A cool wisp of air that seems to go right through you and leaves chills down your back? Maybe it's more than coincidence, more than your mind playing tricks. Maybe your life is also part of a paranormally world. My name is Aaron Dale, and over 6 years ago, my wife and I moved with our 5 kids into a house 5 miles outside of town on an old state highway. That stretch of Old Route 2 has plenty of its own legends through the years, being dubbed Dead Man's Alley a century ago for a series of mysterious accidents. The 3.5 acres the house sits on has one of the sharpest train curves in the world wrapped around half of it, a spectacle that brings people from states away to see the legendary curve that has also been the host of several train crashes through the early 1900s. The house itself is surrounded by rumors and legends through its 150-plus years in existence that tie it to the Underground Railroad, the KKK, and years as an old tavern-style motel after the railroad tracks went in during the Civil War era. Since moving into the house, we have been witness to several unbelievable paranormal things that we are now trying to find answers for. And that brings us to the Paranormally podcast with special guests, paranormal co-hosts, and plenty of truth that is hard to believe. Welcome back to Paranormally, and I am your host, Aaron Dale, along with, of course, our ghost hunters extraordinaire. How about that one? I don't know if we've used that one yet. Josiah and Steve with me. How you guys doing?
Good, Aaron. How are you?
Real good, real good. It's been a while since we really got a chance to dive into some of this stuff. And in that process, I know we've been waiting for everything to kind of come back out of the investigation you guys did, of course, at my house. You got anything revealing? You got a big reveal for me today?
Well, I guess we don't have any big revelations. We have been going back and listening to it. We have picked up a few just things that we didn't notice the first time around and everything. I've got some of those files clipped, and I'm going to share them with you after the show. We're going to send them to your email address so you can kind of go over them and everything. We did have one thing kind of a step backwards of the evidence that we talked about initially. You know, we had a list of about 6 or 7 things, big things that happened. One of them that we thought was a female voice, after listening to it and paying close attention, we have determined it was one of your dogs.
Oh.
Yeah, I know. So it's disappointing. You know, you want it to be a spectral voice, you know, but we're 95% sure that it was one of your dogs making that noise.
Yep. But one of the other good things was the flashlights that were going off. We determined that there was nobody there, or there wasn't a cat that brushed up against it or anything like that. That actually just went off on its own.
So, well, or with the help of something paranormal.
Yeah. Also, the device called the REM pod that was going off on the lower stairwell, the lower landing of your stairs, there was no cat, causing that as well either, because the camera we had on it showed it going off without any interference. So that's definitely something we could say was fairly certain that it's paranormal.
That's very cool. Very cool. Just to have some kind of evidence. And I mean, I've seen the evidence with my own eyes. I've been part of it. So I know, but it's always good to, if other people don't think you're crazy, there's a good, there's something good there, I think.
If nothing else, this evidence does prove that something is definitely going on there, although it would take probably years or so to determine what exactly it is, if we ever did. But definitely we've got confirmation that you've got stuff going on in your house.
Well, like I said, I already knew that, but I'm glad I have confirmation now from paranormal professionals, investigators. Let me ask you something now. You were talking about we had thought, or maybe, this could be this could be that, and then it turns out to be the dog. You guys are just into it enough, or you want it to be legitimate, and so that you go that extra mile to legitimize things and find out if things really are this or that, instead of just being like, oh yeah, it's this, yeah. And I think I respect the hell out of that, because I get the feeling that a lot of folks in your field maybe like to just gloss it over a little more than actually look into the grassroots.
Absolutely, and I wouldn't call that necessarily laziness. It's not necessarily. It's more maybe opportunistic, I guess you could say. If every little creak, every little thing is, oh my gosh, did you hear what that ghost just did? Well, no. You got to take a step back, and you have to find rational explanations for it. I'm still, as I've always said, on the skeptical side, even though I've experienced quite a few things that have opened my mind more. But being on the skeptical side, my first thought when anything happens is, okay, there's an explanation for that, let's find it. And through process of elimination, if you can't find an explanation, then you got something, you move forward.
Do you feel like, and you guys probably could even cite some examples, do you feel like people that go out of their way to try to debunk or shine a light on people who are paranormal investigators, whatever, and make them look bad and make them look like, there's nothing there, those people, do you think that in their research and in their work find that they were wrong? Like where it's like, oh, this can't be true, and then as they start getting into it, they have, things happen to them or they see things that make them think a little different?
That has happened before. There are people out there that just are absolute skeptics. They come into some of our investigations 100% skeptic, and then by the end of the night, it's like their mind starts to change a little bit, and they start talking about, well, maybe there is a possibility, just based on some of the things that we hear. And I think we're so conditioned from the time we're little kids to rationalize things. But, sometimes you're rationalizing things, and it's almost like you're going the wrong way. You're trying too hard to say, well, no, that wasn't paranormal, because you don't want to be afraid or, whatever it may be, whatever your reason for rationalizing it is. But then if you really take a step back at it and analyze, I think that's when it changes those people from hardcore skeptics to more open-minded people, I guess I'd say.
And it does take a certain kind of person to be able to admit that maybe what they had thought all along is wrong. Because,
yes,
you do have your debunkers who are so dead set on proving everything wrong that no matter what, they're going to find a way to explain it away or pull something out of their ass to make sure that people don't view it as paranormal. And those people you'll never change.
Sounds like political opinions nowadays, huh?
You are not kidding.
One of the most famous ones is named James Randi. They call him the Great Randy. And he's had a long-standing offer that anybody that can prove that a ghost or a Bigfoot or anything like that is real, he has $1 million secured and ready to hand off with definitive proof. So he's one of those people that I don't think you could probably provide him the greatest evidence in the world, and he'd probably figure out a loophole to say, no, that's not paranormal.
Right.
Even though it might be.
Anything short of Bigfoot, having lunch with him?
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
And even then, who knows,
Yeah.
He'd be looking for you to pick up the tab kind of deal?
He'd be tugging at Bigfoot's fur.
Yeah, that's no Bigfoot. I don't know what you're talking about. Well, and, with the popularity, I recently talked to a gentleman who does the Galena Haunted Tours up in Galena, and we got a chance to talk to him a little bit off the air, and same thing, where they definitely had things happen, on some of these tours that they do. Yeah, they do walking tours at night. And of course, very old town, a lot of energy, a lot of different things going on there. And yeah, he said it's pretty consistent, actually, and he said a lot of people go away surprised.
Oh, I'm sure of it. Galena's got a lot of haunted areas. As a matter of fact, there's a place there called the Old Marine Hospital. It's out in the middle of nowhere, and Steve was the first one to tell me about this place. I believe Ghost Hunters was just there.
The new Ghost Hunters show, that they were there just recently.
Oh, yeah, really?
Yeah, I mean, that's a nationwide show.
Wow.
And we believe, here at Conover, right when we were getting our tour shut down by the owner, the Stock Valley area chamber, somebody from the chamber was contacting us, wanting to...
Gary Camrano.
Yeah, he was saying there's a national ghost hunting show syndicated that wants to come and investigate in our area, and they were wondering if we would like to be one of the candidates for it. And we firmly believe that, we weren't able to submit Conover for it, but we think that search ended up in the Marine Hospital there in Galena. Because
that's cool. I mean, I didn't know like I said, I don't watch that show, but yeah, it's funny. Do you think, so for our area, do you think that there's more or less haunting than anywhere else, or do you think it's kind of consistent across the board anywhere you go?
I think it's consistent. I've just stood by that approach the whole time, and that's because you hear, we're so focused on our own state, our own backyard. But if you really branch out and listen to it, every single state has something, whether it's hauntings or something, cryptid-wise or you name it. I know there are certain areas of the state, such as Alton, Illinois, that I would say there's a heavy concentration of hauntings there, But as far as, one state being more haunted than the other, I don't really think so.
It's kind of just a standard. It's a thing that we all deal with, and is there, if you want to look.
Yeah, I would say that's accurate.
That wasn't Ted Williams that you met, was it?
Absolutely, the head of Ted Williams. He's on a robot body. Well, Ted Williams that played for the Red Sox was a big early investor and believer in cryogenics.
No, I just wondered because I was out there a few years ago and met Ted at his shop. I think it's called The Darkness Lovely.
Yeah, and it's Haunted Galena Tours. Yep.
Yep, a really dynamic guy, really nice guy. He's actually part of one of the tour guide Facebook pages that I'm on and everything. It's just kind of a network for tour guides to discuss, hey, how do you deal with this, when you have customers that do this and everything. But yeah, Ted's a really good guy, and he's turned that thing into I think the number one thing to do in Galena on like TripAdvisor and everything.
Yeah, we talked to him just before Labor Day, and they were already booked out.
Oh yeah,
for the whole weekend. We were thinking, okay, we'll give you some help here. He's like, oh no, we're already booked out. They were booked out like the next few weekends, and I think they do them Wednesday through Sunday or something. But they've got a good reputation apparently because people have seen things and like things have happened to where people are really into it.
Oh yeah, yep, absolutely. And I know there's other ones out there and everything that probably do a pretty decent job. They're also pretty big scale, but I know he's really taken what he's done and just ran with it, and it's extremely popular.
Well, it's cool stuff, and then that's what you guys do. And we need to find you guys a good haunted area to just post up at and have be your own.
Oh, yeah.
That'd be great.
Absolutely.
Have you had anything happen in your home recently, Aaron, that we haven't discussed yet?
No. Nothing new. Last time I talked, last thing that's happened, the shower was on again. And that's all we've had since. So all quiet on the Western Front thus far. Naturally, if anything happened, I would text you guys right away and let you know right away if something did. But
after an investigation, usually one of two things happens: either the place is investigated, and once the investigators leave, activity just like shoots through the roof and goes crazy, or sometimes it drops off completely. For a time or for even a long time.
Yeah, and again, it was like a rapid fire more. When we first moved in. And then it gapped out a little bit, and now it's just gapped out more. It was happening, things were happening all the time. Then things went to, something's happening maybe every 3 months, and now it's many months. Seems like before this last time it had been, maybe 6 months. And I'm okay with that. You know what I mean? Like, that's fine with me. I don't need my truck putting itself into drive and idling towards me anymore or anything like that. I mean, that's totally fine. Now, for you guys, that's the juicy stuff. But, from my angle, this is okay if we don't have anything happen. That's for sure.
I think I'd feel much better about the water turning on its own than, getting almost hit by your own vehicle. So.
Yeah, well, I mean, it wasn't moving fast, but still, it's that's probably the weirdest, most unexplainable thing. I mean, I know how to explain it. It was something paranormal, but, along with a few of the other things that have happened, but, those are the weirdest things that have ever happened in my life as far as, stuff like that goes. Like, what? Like, I don't know anybody that's had anything like that happen to them, or that at least they're not talking about it. I don't know. Sometimes I wonder, I'm like, is this focused on me for real? Like, should I be paying more attention here? My life just doesn't allow it, really. I'm just too busy with all the kids and stuff all the time and animals, and it just goes on and on.
Well, like we said at the time, I mean, that is some serious, like, Final Destination kind of shit right there, having the vehicle roll at you. And despite the other things that have happened, I mean, that's got to be super, super distressing, too, to think, what if you hadn't noticed it in time and everything?
For sure. It's but again, I've never felt threatened. Even when that happened,
Sure.
if they were trying to do something, they would have hit the gas pedal, I guess, and really slammed into me. Instead it was like just giving you a little warning bump here, hello. And despite all the stuff that we've had happen at the house, I'm not creeped out. And maybe I should be. I mean, I don't know. I guess some folks would have probably packed and left after the first couple things, but it's hard to find a house when you got 5 kids. So this is the way it is. And do you think that? Because looking back, it's almost as if when we first got there, they were trying to scare us away or spook us out. Never anything malicious, but just like a little bits of just messing with you a little and going to make sure that I'm messing with you a little, without a doubt. And it didn't scare us away. And then it sort of slowed down, and now it's slowed down more. Are we sort of just wearing them down to a point where they're just like, whatever. They're here, we're here. I mean, is that a thing?
Oh yeah, definitely. There are cases where people call out to the spirits and just say, "Hey, let's live together, but just don't make yourself known. Please just try to do your own thing. I'm going to do my own thing." And a lot of times that makes things subside. But I think each case is totally subjective. Yours might be, they might just be taking a bit of a lull. They might come back in full force another month from now. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but I've heard of both cases happening both ways.
Well, and I'm not surprised by that. It's some people probably would have cut and run, and the ones that don't, either the spirits or the paranormal, whatever it is, get tired of trying to chase them away, or just settle in and like, whatever. We're neighbors now. Different dimensions, same house. It's cool.
Yep.
I think most times it seems like people could just cohabitate with their spirits, and that's the outcome that you hear about most of the time. Now, I don't watch these shows a lot. I think Josiah may have seen them a little bit more than I do, but you have your ghost hunting shows on TV where they investigate a location, do a thorough review, give evidence and whatever. But then you have these other shows about hauntings that people had that were so scary that they just dropped everything and ran, or their kid's life was in danger, or just intense stuff and everything. That stuff does happen, but I think that's a little bit rare. And those are the ones they do the reenactments on and really dramatize on these shows and everything, like Paranormal Witness, some of the Paranormal Survivor,
Do you guys just like DVR all the shows? Don't lie to me.
I have Hulu, so I just watch them on demand.
And I don't own a TV, so.
Okay, you don't own a TV?
No, sir. Anything I watch is either on my phone or on my computer.
Wow, the new era, huh?
I actually respect him for that because he didn't have to cut the cord because he never had the cord to begin with. So.
You just came up with something else that I had wondered about and wanted to ask you guys about. And now it's like you're reading my mind. So we, obviously with paranormal things and ghosts or whatever, spirits, whatever you want to call them, typically you think old time and, the old pots and pans and turning on the water and this kind of thing. Is there any evidence, because it seems like this would be a way to document it quite easily and effectively, has there been any evidence of haunting through computers or digital things, TVs, stuff like that?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I just listened to a story last night where this mother, she was passing away, she was terminally ill, and she became set into a comatose state. And her children were there with her while she was passing away, and her husband had already been deceased by about 10 years. And the mother absolutely loved Westerns, and she also loved American Pickers. Those were two of her absolute favorite shows. And the children were sitting there. The mother was in a complete comatose state, anywhere near a remote control. And the granddaughter grabbed the remote. It was late at night, and she turned on like a cartoon channel. And the mom made a weird sound, and American Pickers flipped back on. And they're like, whoa, this is really weird. Nobody was near the remote after she had set it down. They were watching the show for a while, and then the mom made the sound, and it flipped over. And then it happened again. But when it happened again, it flipped over to a Western. Fast forward, I think it was, they said a couple days, the mother had passed, and they were sitting there, and the daughter at this time flipped on the TV and was watching a show, and it immediately switched over to another channel that was a sports network channel. And when that happened, she got up and went to see her other siblings and said, "You're not going to believe what just happened." And they said at that time in the other room, they were talking about their father, and that's all he would ever watch is sports network. So right then and there, I mean, that's a quick example that I can tell you about electronics being manipulated.
I've also heard of the stories and everything of people getting phone calls from their dead relatives. And
really?
Oh, yeah, not just landlines. It seems like it was more common on landlines, but even cell phones. Getting calls from a dead number or from, a relative themselves. They can hear the relative talking and everything.
Pops up on your phone, 555 dead. You're like, I'm going to let this one go. Looks like spam.
Yeah, good way to screen your calls on that one, But yes, somehow, and I don't know if it's just technology glitches or if it's something explainable, but people are experiencing stuff through electronics. So that's not outside the realm of possibility.
So what do you think? They have like a seminar for these spirits to go to learn how to, here's how you haunt computers. You can actually maybe get your image in there. And have you guys heard about the deal where they've talked about in the future that people could potentially download themselves into computers?
Yeah, oh yeah, I've heard that.
How about that for paranormal?
They say that there's a potential that they might be able to take everything that's in your brain and pretty much download it where you can interact AI with a family member 6 generations ago. And with quantum computing, I wouldn't be surprised, and that's on the precipice. You know, they're working on those right now, so that's going to change the world.
Yeah, hopefully there's still one left for it to change, but yeah, it's been wild and crazy. I think the first time I heard of this might have been in the Joe Rogan Elon Musk interview, and I don't know if you guys have watched that. They talk about AI quite a bit and just where they think that is and so on and so forth. But the concept being that they are, like you said, they are finding ways to digitally connect a brain, your brain, my brain, whose ever brain, Ted Williams' head's brain. They're finding ways to connect a brain to digital components, like to where you could basically, like, I hate to put it this way, but it's like you could download yourself onto a thumb drive and then plug yourself in, or however that works, and then just be in there. He explains it a lot better than I do, but it freaked me out. You know what I mean? I had like goosebumps just hearing this stuff. And because it is almost like at that point, you're no longer and maybe that's what people would do when they got old. But what a creepy idea to think that old people could be just hanging around digitally in computers and pop in and see you. And I don't know. It kind of weirds me out.
It almost sounded to me like it was, a version of like the Matrix, being able to do something on that scale.
Very much so. I think it's similar. Another old Keanu Reeves movie. Ever see Johnny Mnemonic?
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yep.
Do you guys remember that one?
I do not.
It was like an early version of...
Get a damn TV, Josiah. Jesus. Come on. Watch some old movies, would you? Keanu Reeves plays a Johnny Mnemonic, which is a person who they put information into them. Like he basically has like a portal, like a USB portal on his head. Okay. And they just plug info into him. And then it's stored in him, and then he has to get it somewhere else and get it downloaded out where it needs to go. And a lot of times it's like top secret, very important information, so he's in trouble a lot. People are trying to kill him or get him or whatever. And and now that shit's actually happening. We're getting to that point where it's like, it's weird because in the movie everybody has this NAS or something disease that they call it. Because of all the electronics in the air, all the waves of electricity and different things going on everywhere all the time, and people are constantly around that stuff, and it starts messing with them, and there's a disease that comes from it, and Johnny Mnemonic, Keanu Reeves' character, actually has the cure for it, and so all these different entities are trying to get him, and I think I just spoiled the movie, but anyway, it's an old movie, so just whatever.
For the time, though, it was pretty mind-blowing, though.
Well, at the time, it was science fiction. Yeah. And that was, 25 years ago?
At least in the 90s, yeah.
Yeah, so it's 25 years ago, science fiction is like reality just down the street here. And that whole deal, that's just wild. I mean, to wrap your head around that, again, it would completely change everything as far as even stuff with this. Paranormal, you got spirits and stuff like that. If everybody just downloads themselves into computers, they're always there, right?
Yeah, it's true. And I did listen to a interview of people talking about those bears. Have you ever seen those teddy bears that you can download a voice onto? Like, let's say if a grandparent feels like they might be, getting close to passing away, they can download their voice onto this bear, and a kid can hold it, and, you'll hear the loved one's voice. So then they went on to talk about exactly what you're talking about. And they interviewed people that had family members that had been deceased. And one that stuck out in my mind was a little girl that had passed away, and they were asking the mother, how do you feel about interacting with an AI version of her? And her response was she felt like she would be greatly comforted. But for the most part, it was polarizing. It's 50-50. One group said they would love it. The other group said it would be absolutely creepy, and they wouldn't like it.
I think that's one of those things you don't know till you're there, till you're doing it kind of thing, Yeah. Like, who knows how you're going to react to something. It might be a situation where you're like, oh, that sounds creepy, and then you're like, oh, it's fine. But then, yeah, I don't know. I'll stick with old-fashioned ghosts just like I will everything else. and then the ethical ideas come up of like, well, if they start to get dementia or they're starting to show signs of things, do you download them early? What do you do? It's a whole nother idea, of everything. So anyway, sorry, a little bit of a side tangent today, but I was just wondering, here we are in this futuristic world, and how does that change things for paranormal?
Well, and not just that, but like you even said, recently deceased had already been using the technology. Like your ghosts from the 1800s, early 1900s, they're not going to have any idea what technology is. But if they've been using it all their life, it might make sense that they're able to call someone, or make something happen like that. So,
strange world, gentlemen.
Yes, indeed.
That is for sure. So. Well, very cool. We finally found out that I definitely do have something paranormal in my house, which I think, I was confident of, obviously, because I've seen it myself. But it's always nice to get documentation or some sort of backup to show that, no, he's maybe not crazy. We're not 100% sure, but probably not. And I appreciate, all you guys' time and effort that you put into not only coming out to do the investigation, but all the work that goes into it afterwards, which I guess I wasn't very aware of just how much goes into this, post investigation.
Yeah, it's a huge amount of data that you have to cover, and we want to take the time to thank you as well, for letting us come into your home. I know that's a bit of a breach, so we want to thank you very much for allowing that.
Yeah, and I can't wait for you to hear some of the stuff that we have and see some of the stuff, because we can tell you about it, but until you actually see it with your own eyes and absorb it and everything and stuff, maybe you might make a connection that we didn't make even, so there's plenty of more to come out of this. Yeah.
Now, have you guys been on any investigations since then?
Yeah, mainly they've been like institutions and commercial places. For the most part, that's what we do, but yes, we have been. And we've actually got a lot coming up this season.
Yeah, we got about 5 events all coming up.
Great.
Later on this month and through October. I think the newest one, which was also probably the most popular one so far, was there's a restaurant here in town called Maxton's Manor, and it's right on the river. They have the giant paddle wheel boat, and it's right across from the Blackhawk statue. Well, things happened, and we crossed paths, and they have had some activity inside the restaurant. So we're going to go on October 17th. We're going to go on the paddle wheel boat for dinner up and down the river. We've got a guest speaker coming in. She's going to tell ghost stories. She's a published author and everything. Her name's Kathy Kressel, and she's going to tell ghost stories on the boat. We're going to enjoy the evening turning into night. Then when we get back, we're going to do a 3-hour investigation of the restaurant. And we listed the tickets for sale on a Wednesday night. By Friday morning, we had sold all 43 tickets for the event.
Oh, I believe it. People are looking for things to do, man. They're bored. There's not a lot, and there's a lot of local vacationing going on. Like, oh, well, this has been here this whole time. We've never even checked this out. Let's go. And that's probably going to serve you guys well, I think, with what you're doing for sure.
Yeah, and one other one, before we cut it off, we're doing Stronghold Castle. It's a public investigation, one of the very first public investigations we've ever had.
And I mean, it's a freaking castle.
Yeah.
Can anyone really say that they've investigated a castle not living in, Germany or something like that?
Right. That's super cool, man. You guys are getting really into some nice opportunities with this stuff. That's very cool.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, we're excited where it's going, and, who knows where it'll end up.
Very cool. Looking forward to hearing more from you guys. Here's been another episode of Paranormally with our paranormal investigators, Josiah and Steve. Thank you guys so much for joining us.
Thank you.
You bet. Thank you. See you.
Thanks for listening. You can find more episodes and all other Hot Pie Media originals baked fresh daily at our home on the web at hotpiemedia.com, the Hot Pie Media YouTube channel, or wherever you listen to podcasts.